Okay, so you guys seen the dividing of the land is what I wanted to stop, because Israel, I got to redo this from the Jerusalem Post. Israel doesn't have veto power on Palestinian statehood. PA tells ICJ. Okay? So what's happened is the administration is said to have proposed a draft UN Security Council resolution, which in part would call for a temporary ceasefire and call on Israel not to go into Rafah, into the Gaza Strip. Okay, and then it says that suspect that the ICJ will rule that Israel is an illegal occupation. This will then serve as a convenient pretext to a vote which will be brought to the United Nations to officially recognize a Palestinian state imposed upon Israel by the international community. The EU and the UK have already indicated that they will have vote in favor of a Palestinian state. Blinken and the Biden administration are likely to do this as well, because Biden specifically said, this is his words, tired of being Genocide Joe. Finally, Blinks will push UN resolution for temporary Gaza ceasefire. Okay, and did you guys see the new, well, it's not new, what is it, 9099 Act of, that Biden said that illegal immigrants can now come into our own country, that it's legal, that they have rights to our aid, that they get money, $5,000, things like that. Okay, and now all of a sudden he doesn't want to be this bad guy. He's abandoning Israel because they are going to be forced into a two-state solution. And Biden, of all people, is gung-ho for it. Now, I watched the movie. It's not a movie. It's a TV series that I started watching, and I think we're on season 2 or 3. And they have 6 seasons, and the very season that I got last night that I watched, and it just dawned on me. Okay, this movie is back in the 70s and 80s, when they said triplets were born and one died and they adopted a black baby, and it was just, it's a tearjerker. But then this episode came on that it fast forwarded into 2008, and they had a Obama-Biden magnet and postcards all over the refrigerator and everything. I had to pause it just to take a picture of it. I was like, you got to be joking. And what's funny about that is we know that Obama is still running the country from behind the scenes. You see what I'm saying? You have Obama that won presidency, whom Biden was his backup man, and then you have Kamala Harris, who is Biden's backup man. Where's Obama? Obama served 2 terms. Biden is here. You see what I'm saying? He got in, and they're both as equal. They're both the same thing. It's just insane how all of this is working out. And the fact that it was in 08 and 09 when Obama was running for presidency anyway, and we knew that once he got in, this triggered completely the end times. So, now, and then we also have that the government's agenda is paying the border bandits up to $10,000 and each with no ID check or anything. There are over 20,000 young military-aged Chinese men, okay, that has come in from the border into the U.S., along with Afghans. This is not coincidence. This is all to trigger a massive war that is going to take place, which I 100% believe. After April 8th, I believe the dividing of the land is going to happen. I believe that the dead in Christ is going to rise, that there is going to be, that America is going to get destroyed. I'm not talking about obliterated off the map, because they're still going to be remained partially, but it's going to be so unrecognizable. Okay? All right, so now let's dig into number 15, reasons why this eclipse is so important. Dividing the land for peace. The eclipse coincides with the renewed push by the U.S. State Department to create a Palestinian state, thus dividing the land of Israel in order to achieve what is called a lasting peace and security for the region. This is significant for 2 reasons. First, God warns that he will judge the nations who divide the land, Joel 3:2. Second, Paul informs that the church that the day of the Lord will begin while people are saying peace and security, 1 Thessalonians 5:3. All right, now we have Trump's sevens and other harbingers. The eclipse occurs 7 years after the 50th Jubilee anniversary of the restoration of Jerusalem in 1967. While 2017 was not an actual Jubilee, it was a year of Jubilee-related signs. Trump, whose last name means trumpet, was inaugurated president of the Jubilee Nation as he turned 70-year-old, 7 months and 7 days. Significantly, Trump was born on the biblical date, Sivan 15, the day of Pentecost, according to the Book of Jubilees. Trump became the first U.S. president since the 1967 restoration to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. On the day that the Great American Eclipse traced a path across 7 U.S. cities named Salem, Trump's son-in-law Jared flew to the Middle East to begin working on a peace plan that would propose dividing Jerusalem. 33 days after the Great American Eclipse, during a Feast of Trumpets, one-of-a-kind astronomical alignment in Virgo inspired many Christians to start watching the signs in the heavens. And then we have the Horned Comet. During the eclipse, a massive and unusually bright comet named 12P Pons Brooks, which is also known as the Devil's Comet. Okay, it will be visible in the neighboring constellation Aries the Lamb. Like the eclipse, Comet Pons Brooks is brimming with biblical symbolism. The comet was discovered by astronomer Jean Louis Pons in sabbatical year 1812 and subsequently recovered in sabbatical year 1883 by William Brooks. The name Pons means the way or the path maker. Jesus is the way or the path to salvation. John 14:6, Matthew 7:13 and 14. The name Brooks means flowing stream or torrent and has a dual connotation pertaining to the waters of life that flow from the Lamb and the flood of judgment unleashed upon the wicked. Revelation 7:17, 22:1, and Matthew 24:37 through 39, Isaiah 59:19. Comet Pons Brooks has an orbit of just over 70 years, evoking the Jewish liberation from captivity after 70 years, which is Jeremiah 29:10. According to astronomers, the most intriguing characteristics of Comet Pons Brooks is the ability to produce unexpected outbursts in brightness, likely due to gas jetting from a fissure on the comet's nucleus. The sudden brightening recalls how when Jesus comes, he will destroy the wicked with the brightness of his coming. 2 Thessalonians 2:8. And then the outburst of intense brightness by Comet Pons Brooks causes the mishap coma to resemble the horns of the bull. In the biblical zodiac, Mazzaroth, Taurus the bull is a picture of Jesus coming to pierce through his enemies. Seeing how Comet Pons Brooks resembles a bull, it is significant that the U.S., home to nearly half of the world's Jews, is believed to be home to the scattered tribe of Israel that is represented by a bull, Ephraim, which is Deuteronomy 33:17. But there's more. All right, the letter Aleph signatures formed by the eclipse is a pictograph of a bull. Thus, we have the comet that resembles a bull. Appearing above the nation associated with the bull, Ephraim-US, which is marked with the Hebrew letter that pictures a bull. With the bull symbolism in the view, it is striking that the Comet Pons Brooks will each perihelion or maximum brightness as it enters the constellation Taurus the bull. After visiting Taurus, Pons Brooks will enter the constellation Eridanus, a name which means River of the Judge. On June 2nd, Comet Pons Brooks will reach its closest point to Earth at a distance of 144 million miles, evoking the 144,000 virgins who are sealed for redemption before judgment begins, Revelation 7:14. Needless to say, Comet Pons Brooks is a remarkable sign by itself that will be visible to the immediate left of the eclipse, adds significance to both. And number 18, botanical sign. The eclipse coincides with an important botanical sign, the flowering of grapeviness in Israel. According to the grape growers, the second week of April is when the tender vines form flowers that give off an intoxicating fragrance. This is significant because in Song of Solomon's, the last seasonal clue before the shepherd comes to gather his bride is the flowering grapevines. The vines in flower yield their sweet smell. Arise, my love, my beautiful one, and come away. Psalms 2:13. And this is going to be in spring, guys. I mean, come on now. Spring up out of the grave. And Assuming that the above is an allusion to the rapture, the flowering of grapevines in Israel beginning around the time of the eclipse is a thrilling sign indeed, marking the start of a season of heightened anticipation. So, that's the information that I wanted to give, because this stuff, you can't make this stuff up, guys. I mean, this is judgment in the finest, and I don't see us here a whole lot longer for dealing with this type of stuff that is going to happen. Now, the other significant thing that I want to read about is we have Easter, quote unquote, on March 31st this year. Then a week later is the Great American Total Solar Eclipse of 2024, which falls on Nisan 1. Okay, and then it's forming a X across America. Remember what I've been saying since my old Facebook page I've gotten taken down about X. X is important. Okay, and I actually took a picture, last year, where I had seen a big X and it was right over my house, and I said X marks the spot. Okay, X is important. Just our people are starting to notice the significance. Okay, and another big thing, watch the Middle East around the solar eclipse, and after it marks big things. Also watch volcanoes and earthquakes, and World War III could kick off Gog War, but also watch for peace deals. Okay, this is also an election year. We have famine and pestilence, which is diseases and viruses. All right, and we know that they're going to spread another one, start their agenda again. March timing, and back in, December 14th, the only total solar eclipse of 2020 will go directly over Patagonia, also known as the end of the world, where they will be holding a huge eclipse festival. This eclipse occurs exactly 7 days before the rare conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, which is the first one to ever fall directly on the solstice. This is also the exact midpoint day of two solar eclipses that mark an X over America, 7 years, 2017 through 2024. These are big signs in the heavens. The Revelation 12 sign of 2017 was the kickoff of major signs. Okay, and it's getting close, and we've been watching, especially with the blood moon tetrad, right before the falling of the holy days. Okay, and the elections are also in 2024, and we know that during these elections bad things happen, but this is even more significant because all of this is biblical of what is going on. And we have the New World Order beast system rising up, the weakening shield magnetic North Pole shift. Okay, and we've seen that, and other big things like the red heifer offering, news on the third temple, golden menorah, the seven-branched candelabra crafted along with the Levitical musical instruments, certified DNA test Cohen to perform the third temple duties, the plot of land needed and required on Mount of Olives, Psalm 83 war in Gog and Magog, and the Ezekiel 38 war, Gaza Bible verses, Amos 1:7, and Zephaniah happening now in Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, and Ekron, nearing Damascus, becoming a ruinous heap, and it's currently being hit now in conjunction. Okay, and Luke 21:25 says there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the solar eclipse is very, very significant. And the last thing I'm going to read to you is the red heifers and the war in Gaza. In a recent article by journalists and Temple Mount experts, the activist Arnon Siegel, he pointed out that the following fascinating observation: viewing search data about red heifer on Wikipedia in Arabic and English jumped dramatically from the moment Israel's current war in Gaza broke out on October 7th. The number of searches conducted in Hebrew has not changed. Okay, why? Delusional as it sounds to a Jewish ear, in the enemy's minds, the war is about the red heifers. In other words, Israel's sworn enemies are deadly fearful and ongoing unfolding other prophetic promise taking place in Israel. While we are pushing forward to a better tomorrow, our enemies are determined to stop the redemptive process in place. The war being conducted by Iran and its terrorist proxies is not just against the people of Israel, whom they seek to utterly destroy, but also against the GD, or God of Israel. The unequivocal defeat of Iran and its proxies is an absolute necessity for the world to march forward toward the recognition of the one God who's dwelling in places in Jerusalem, which is a house of prayer for all nations, Isaiah 56:7. And not only to mention that, it is also the, where they're talking about the two witnesses coming. And this reminds me of the daily sacrifice that gets taken away up in Daniel, where the abomination that makes desolate gets set up. Okay, so all of this is significant. We are here, guys. There is no going back. Things are getting ready to just pop off like you wouldn't believe. Okay, but our Savior promises before all this judgment comes, we leave. So I love you. I will see you there or in the air. God bless.